After looking at Tennessee's schedule, it turns out that the slate for the Vols could be much, much, much tougher than we thought at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, we projected Tennessee's entire season would come down to 3 games: Florida, Alabama, and Georgia, as they usually do. And and by the way, Florida was only on that list because of the potential for how they ended last season. Florida is obviously significantly worse. Alabama right now appears to be worse because of how they played week 1. And so originally the signs were that things were worse. However, the play of so many other schools has now completely reversed what we thought about Tennessee. A few notable ones. Oklahoma. Now we're going to talk later about Oklahoma's sketchy win over Auburn, but sketchy or not, and by the way, that's only that call that everybody's criticizing. That was the difference on whether or not the game would have gone to overtime. We still don't know that Oklahoma wouldn't have won. At the end of the day, Oklahoma is 4-0 right now with 2 top 25 wins. That is a way tougher game for Tennessee than we thought. They are number 7 in the AP poll, number 10 in the coaches poll. Georgia is Georgia. Alabama is slowly creeping back up, guys. We're forgetting this. Alabama, they had an off week, but they blew out Wisconsin 2 weeks ago. And with an off week, Ty Simpson, they could really get things going. Vanderbilt, that's right. Vanderbilt is undefeated and now in the top 25. They are number 18 in the AP poll and number 20 in the coaches poll. A huge leap for the Doors. But where things really stand out is now Tennessee's season opening win. I told you guys Syracuse was a tougher program than we thought. Fran Brown running a great program there. Fran Brown has Syracuse 3-1, and they just beat Clemson by 2 touchdowns on the road. They are now 3-1 with a 2-touchdown win at Clemson. You can say what you want about Clemson falling apart. They are 1-3, and there's a lot to criticize about Clemson. Nobody thought Syracuse would beat them like that, though. So you can't pretend that you thought that would be the case. So with that in mind, yeah, Fran Brown has Syracuse building as a program. So when you take all that into account, now Syracuse is not yet in the top 25. Neither is Mississippi State. Both are, and then the other one, wanted to point out Mississippi State. Tennessee faces them on the road this week. They got that win over Arizona State. So let's talk about games Tennessee's played. Syracuse blew them out. Georgia, at Mississippi State, at Alabama, at Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Alabama, Mississippi State, Georgia, and Syracuse. That's 6 teams that all have a case to be in the top 25, and 4 of them are in the top 25 as we speak. So with that in mind, I'm going out on a limb and I'm going to say it. Bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. Member FDIC. Life made better. Tennessee will be able to reach the college football playoff now at 9-3. Not just 10-2. I am amending my statement from the beginning of the year. The schedule will allow Tennessee to reach the college football playoff at 9-3 rather than 10-2. That is banked on it.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Last year, and this is one of the big reasons the SEC and Tennessee has a great chance of getting into the college football playoff. Last year, there were 3 SEC teams that finished the season 9-3. Those SEC teams were Alabama, who was at number 11 in the college football playoff, Ole Miss, who was number 14, and South Carolina, who was number 15. They all got snubbed in favor of a 2-loss SMU team and a 1-loss Indiana team that their only loss was the only good team they played all year. The SEC raised hell because they were debating that schedule strength should count for something. That sparked major negotiations this offseason for what the college football playoff format would look like in the future. The Big 12, or excuse me, the Big 10 wants automatic bids for every team. The SEC, and when I say automatic, I mean they wanted 4-4, 3-3, yada yada that. The SEC wanted it to just be seeded 1 through either 12 or 1 through 14 or 1 through 16 with whichever model they go, but just seeded in order with like a certain number of auto bids for conference champions. The Big Ten was only going to get on board with that if the SEC went to 9 games. The SEC made the decision right before the start of the season to go to 9 games for next year. They did that on the premise and on the idea that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee would weight schedule strength a heck of a lot more heavily than they did last year. This college football season is basically the test run for that. If schedule strength is not weighed more heavily this year by the committee, then the SEC will ditch its 9-game schedule, at which point the networks will be very unhappy, and the college football playoff is carried on ESPN, which carries the SEC. So the SEC holds a lot of cards here. Now, when I take that into account, already I said 9-3 was going to get an SEC team into the playoff this year when it didn't last year. I didn't think it would be Tennessee because of the schedule. Now, bringing it back to Tennessee, it now could be. I just named you the 6 schools that could be very, very good. Now, there are schools Tennessee's playing that are worse than we thought. Arkansas is in deep trouble. That is the unluckiest loss I think we have ever seen in football last year. What happened to them, or last weekend, what happened to them against Memphis. That is a really, really big deal going forward. Arkansas is a huge, shall we say, issue for the Vols. The SEC's doing what they're doing with this schedule the SEC doing what they're doing with their strong arming of the college football playoff would not seem to favor Tennessee when you specifically talk about Arkansas. But Arkansas is not a bad team still. I mean, they are 2 turnovers away from being 4-0 right now, at which point Tennessee's schedule was going to look better. Now Arkansas is about to host Notre Dame. If Arkansas beats Notre Dame, by the way, in a week, we are talking about a totally different story at that point. A totally different story. It will be wild. We're going to see what happens there. But if Arkansas, they did lose at Memphis and they did lose at Ole Miss, but they're still decent at home. So Arkansas is going to host Notre Dame and they're going to host Texas A&M. I'm not so sure they can't win those 2 games, and I'm not so sure they can't beat Auburn and Mississippi State, at which point that gets them to 6 wins. So Tennessee plays 6 top 25 caliber teams, another 6-win caliber team in Arkansas. And when you look at that whole schedule, you think, you know what? Tennessee's schedule strength is going to be very, very, very strong. As a matter of fact, if you just do the real-time RPI formula, which I have done in the past for schedule strength, and that's just, it factors in your opponent's winning percentage and your opponent's winning percentage. That's all they really do. Tennessee's schedule strength right now is number 15. Right now, their schedule strength is number 15, and it's only going to get better going forward. So when you factor all that into play, yeah, I think that Tennessee, their schedule strength might alone get them into the college football playoff. And that is something we didn't see in the past. So all that being said, I think Tennessee, their schedule strength is now at the point to where 9-3 can get them into the playoff. I'm setting up that poll question now, and you guys can vote on it. Given how much tougher Vols' schedule looks now, can 9-3 get them into the CFP? We'll say yes. We'll say no. We'll say no, not that tough, or no, committee hates Tennessee. And I know some of you guys will vote on that. So given how much tougher the Vols schedule looks now, can 9-3 get them into the college football playoff? Vote yes, no, not that tough, or no, committee hates Tennessee.